Okay, guys. Today is probably one of the most important days that you could possibly have in, the world of nerddom. Because today is March 31st. And what is so important about that? It is World Backup Day. And backups actually matter in this case. Because you can deal with all kinds of issues once you have backup. And the most important thing is that you have protection for all of your critical files. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you guys a quick tutorial of how I prefer to back up my systems. So here we are, we're on the desktop, and as you can see, I'm using a GNOME system here. And I've actually got my resolution actually cranked down to 1366 by 768. That way I don't have to waste time doing anything like, zooming in on text, because I'm going to be using GUI applications for this. And the main reason why is because, well, they're kind of simplistic. And specifically what I'm going to be talking about is this application called DejaDupe, which is the GNOME backup utility, and it integrates very well into the GNOME desktop environment. So if I just pull this up here real quick, yeah, I guess Epiphany could be the default web browser because this is a virtual machine, it doesn't matter. And, just do a quick search for DejaDupe here, and you can see that we got a couple things here, but this is a GNOME project. So it's going to be on gnome.org, and it's got some documentation, but in reality, it's a very simplistic system. So it doesn't need, you don't need to be complicated with backups. That's basically what this application alone is proof enough of that. And it is available on as a flat pack. Probably every single Linux distribution ships this because it is the standard backup utility that GNOME itself ships with. So it's going to be on every single Linux distribution out there that is not called, I think it's called Chaos Linux, where they do nothing but ship KDE applications, which I think is unique of them. But of course, I'm using NixOS for this virtual machine, if the desktop wallpaper alone wasn't enough proof of that. And it's very simple to install. You just add it to your configuration.nix file. And let me pull up a terminal here real quick. I know I said it's not going to be a terminal video, yet here I am pulling up a terminal. And so you would just go into Etsy NixOS, and you would open up, well, I'm just going to open this up in gedit because I know that I have that installed. And you will just open up the configuration file, and you just add it to your system packages. That simple. You just put it in the line, just the deja-dupe. If you're using a Debian-based system, you're just going to apt install deja-dupe. Arch Linux, you're just going to pacman tac big S deja-dupe. Flatpak, it's a little bit different. It's a little different on Flatpaks. You just Flatpak install Deja with a capital D and Dupe with a capital D. You can also just go to FlatHub's website and just copy paste it because, FlatHub DejaDupe. Yeah, you just go here to the FlatHub website, or if you're using GNOME software, the GNOME software web page, and you just Flatpak install, call the FlatHub repository org.gnome.dejadupe, capital D's, and it installs. Now, let's just look at the application here, backups itself. And when you first launch it, it's going to bring you up to this screen. It's going to ask you to either create or restore. Let's just go and create a backup, And after we hit enter that, it's going to ask us two things: folders to backup, folders to ignore. You can't call specific files with DejaDupe, you call folders. and that's perfectly acceptable. You can see by default, it backs up the home directory. And then by default, it ignores trash and downloads. That's acceptable for me, at least. So I'll just go ahead and click forward. And you can see that it supports Google Drive as well as network servers or even a local folder. I'm going to set this up on Google Drive. So hit forward on this. It's going to ask for access to my Google account, so I'm just going to hit this. And let's just sign into Google. Oh, right. It's Epiphany. I have an epiphany about my epiphany. It's fine, I got Firefox on this. Yeah, Firefox will be in my default browser for just this. Not now. I said not now. Grant access, because this is what I care about right here. So, just get signed into Google. Of course, because I have Google connected to an Android device, it's going to ask for me to approve it. So yes, and it's going to ask for access to like the Google Drive files. Now, even though this is connecting to the Google account, you don't have to deal with the issues that Google gives because DejaDupe does encrypted backups and it does encryption first. So I'm going to set an encryption password, and you can see that it defaults to encryption. It's opt out. So I'll go and punch in my password, and I can set it to show the password, remember the password. I'm always going to tell it to remember the password because I don't want to have to type in this password every single time I want to run a backup. You do have to still type in the password when you do a restore. So we're just going to go ahead and create the backup. And it's just going to get straight to work. It's going to create the first backup. And you can see that's going to take a little bit of time to get this set up because this is the initial backup. Now, Lighted, this is a bare bones system, so it might not even take that long. You can see that's already in the verification, and it's done. It's really that simple. And this does incremental backup, so you're not going to back up the full thing every single time it runs. So, now that I have a backup set, you can see that it brings us straight to this screen. It's going to bring you to this screen every single time that you launch the application from here on out. You can tell it to back up automatically, so it'll back up automatically. And I can always tell it to just back up right now. Let's just say that I want to restore a file. I just go over here and click restore. It takes a second or two to scan because you got to remember that's connecting to the internet on Google. And it's going to decrypt the files and show them to you. And then you can just pick up any of these files, or you could just Control A and get them all, hit restore. And if you've had this been going for a while, you can go down here to the date and you can select by the date. Of course, I've only got today. So it's only going to show that. And then after you get them all selected, you just hit restore and it goes. You can even search for a specific file, or you can click whatever the checkmark does. I actually don't know. But it's a simplistic application. But let me go ahead and click the hamburger menu, pull up the preferences because I want to show this to you. Say you create a backup and you want to keep it, you want to change the location. You can do that. Just go over here and click it, and you can change it for how long you want it to keep the backups for. It defaults to forever. Ideally, I normally only keep about 3 months. And 3 months of backups, that's fine with me. It's never really been that much of a problem. Now, I run my DejaDupe backups daily. And that's just because I don't want to do the weekly backups because my internet connection actually is not the world's fastest. I use a DSL internet connection. So it's basically a dumb pipe for me. So my internet's literally as fast as my ISP can send it to me, which it's DSL. so it's not particularly fast. I only have like a 2 megabit upload speed. On a good day, I might get 4. So I'm always going to do the daily backups because that's a daily incremental snapshot being uploaded onto my remote backup. And what that does is that means that the individual transfers that I'm doing daily is actually smaller rather than the weekly, where weekly I might be uploading like a gig of data, which might take a while. So I just run the daily backups. It just makes more sense to me as a desktop user. You might want to do the weekly. It does either daily or weekly. Now, DejaDupe by default, if you want to be really nerdy about it, does not use cron, and it does not use systemd timers. It uses its own timer method because this application actually predates the systemd timers, so they just never added support. And then cron only runs at the time that you tell cron run. So DejaDupe by default, in general, it just doesn't support cron because DejaDupe, if you miss your backup because say your computer was turned off, as soon as you turn on, it's going to check the time and go like, hey, my last backup was at this time, and I'm told to update every 24 hours because I'm told to update daily. Well, I know that it's not 1 a.m. right now, and in fact, it's like 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. I'm just going to run my backup right now and just get that out of the way. That way, that's how it works. It's smart. As much as we hate that word. And then because this is a GNOME application, you get all the wonderful tie-ins for the GNOME. So if you're on a modern version of GNOME, like say GNOME 40 plus, DejaDupe, I think its newest version actually does support libadwaita. So if you're on GNOME 42, you will have that wonderful system-wide dark theme that's currently with it. And, of course, if you're already signed into your online accounts on GNOME, you don't even have to give DejaDupe access because GNOME itself has access to the Google Drive shares. And it's basically just like brainless backups, and that's really the beauty of it. I'm not sitting there and taking up the time to like set up a Rustic Backup system, which I know it works better if you're on a server. I know. Trust me. I've been using this application for basically since it came out. So I understand that the cron job to rsync to the offsite backup or to the backup server, which then connects to your Google Drive account through the Google APIs that Rustic Backup hooks into, and does all that fancy stuff that you have to go into your Google account APIs, create the API key and client secrets and all that. You don't have to do that with this. You just sign into your Google account and hit allow, and it works. And you still control your data because DejaDupe by default backs up using duplicity. Now, the only real drawback to that is, of course, duplicity tends to break itself because it's not very backwards compatible. Which right now, if you're using the Flatpak version of DejaDupe, it functions the same as what it is now. But if you install a native package or like an older version of DejaDupe, so say like the pre 3.40, then the older version of DejaDupe can't see the backups that the newer version creates, and the newer version of DejaDupe cannot create or restore from the backups that the older version creates. Which means that somebody like me that's been using this application for many years and has almost 18 terabytes of data up in the Google Cloud services, that means that I have to re-upload my entire backup if I want to use like a newer version of this tool. And that is a problem. I'm not going to lie. Because That might take me a couple years to do that upload. Or you could cheat it. What do I mean by cheat? Well, they're not a sponsor of this, but I have a Linode instance doing this right now. And what this Linode instance is doing is it's running a GUI on it, on my VPS, that I'm connecting to through VNC right now because, well, I'm a savage. And it's running DejaDupe, and it's downloading, and then there's another version of DejaDupe uploading back. Because, 18 terabytes of data is pretty expensive to rent when you're not using super grandfathered, Google Drive plans. But anyways, that's all I've got for now. In the meantime, guys, make sure that your systems are up to date because, well, updates matter. Back up your data. RAID is not a backup. Your ButterFS snapshots or even your ZFS snapshots are not backups. That's all called fucking redundancy. That's it. That is it. Just redundancy. This is your first step to a proper backup system. Because if you're going to have any kind of a backup, the best kind is going to start with the remote backup. I'll see you later.